Hello and welcome to our concept and design presentation for our work on the NSG Patient Anatomy app.
Meet our team. There are two teams, the DevOps team, which consists of Rebecca and I, and then there is the front end and the back end team that consists of Ekin Eteng, Matt Baker, and Emily Olson. In this presentation, we will be discussing the project overview, the project design, the project's progress, and the individual work.
This is the project overview section. This is our introduction. We're working on the NSG Patient Anatomy app. It's an app for neuroanatomy application that helps educate patients on their unique brain anatomy.
So for some context on why this app was originally created, when a patient has some sort of condition or procedure, it is often very difficult for them to communicate with their doctor and for their doctor to adequately explain it without some sort of visualization, as that patient most likely does not have a pre-existing knowledge of brain anatomy. So this app was created to make that communication explanation easier and kind of speed up that process between doctor and patient.
So our current status is that we have just started working on our sprint 1, and that involves just kind of making sure that we have everything set up on our own individual computers, and then we're ready to actually dive into the technical aspects of our project. In terms of the DevOps team, our goals are to do Docker containers and images in order for it to make it easier for users to actually use the product, and also to make it for easier deployment.
Yeah, and then over here on the front and back end team, we're really focusing on trying to make the application look much more professional and match kind of the UF theme and colors, as well as add like login security, maybe some dual factor authentication. And those are kind of the current goals for the front and back end team.
So diving into the project design, we have our software architecture. So the way that the user will be able to use this are, ideally, they're going to be the doctors. So they are then the clients that then can either request data and send their authentication. And with that, we have two separate servers. The first server is the medical server. So this specifically is working with all of the images that are being processed and being able to kind of feed it into our program. And then we also have the processing server. So this specifically has a post-processing thread, but also has a free server thread, which is a software package for the analysis and visualization of structural and functional neuroimaging data. So we take all that information, we're able to feed it into a DICOM, and DICOM specifically stands for Digital Imaging and Communications in Medicine. So all this is very specific to kind of making sure that all of these images are being processed and being rendered correctly within the program itself.
So moving on into what the actual, like our vision for the application. Here you can see both the login and the registration page. And obviously for the registration, you're going to need to provide a username, a password, and then both your first and last name. And then the login page, you just need to enter those usernames, passwords, and we'll probably also add some sort of dual factor authentication if possible.
So these are our landing and interactive rendering page. The landing page is the portal to get to the interactive rendering page. The landing page has patient ID and the MRI data, so the provider can see all of the information that they need to. The interactive rendering page is where we pull up the MRI data and hopefully be able to section the brain out so the patient can understand what might be wrong with them better.
As for the current progress on our work, the original onboarding for this project, as it was already existing, took a little bit longer than expected. We only have one contact for any technical issues we have run into, and a lot of these technologies, such as Unity, are very new to us. So getting that set up on our machines did take a while. But after we kind of got everything up and running, we started working on those wireframes right away to create our vision, and then presented those to the doctor who is working with us on this, Dr. Gravenstein, to get some feedback on what he thinks it looks like, as well as creating the software architecture diagram to kind of figure out the layout of the backend and setting up those objectives for Sprint 1.
So thank you, Ekin. I'll be talking a little bit about our individual responsibilities, starting with the front end, back end team. Emily, myself, and Ekin are going to share responsibilities on this team. And like I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to be focused on updating the appearance of the current application to match UF slash Shan's colors and themes, have it look a little more professional. We also want to remove redundant widgets that have keyboard shortcuts that are fairly obvious and intuitive built in. In addition to that, we want to be able to add a zoom function to the anatomy app, because currently it doesn't have it, so that you can zoom in on different regions of the brain. And like I said, we also want to add login authentication and hopefully dual factor authentication, similar to like the Duo Mobile maybe. And I think I'll pass on the DevOps to Mariam.
The DevOps team will be working on configuring a AWS EC2 instance that will be deployed in Terraform. Then we will set up a Docker container and create an image that will be used in AWS to run our app. And then we will use Kubernetes for deployment and services, which will help later on in our project.
And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.